Allô, Nissan? Hey, grosse tempête, hein?
Hey, Karine, oui, je sais, les vilains bonhommes de neige sont de retour.
Mais avec le Nissan Rogue à traction intégrale, c'est pas stressant.
Exact, il est conçu et testé pour nos hivers. Oh, Karine, il y a un bonhomme dans le Rogue.
Ah, c'est correct. J'ai allumé les sièges chauffants.
Ah, bien joué, Karine. Maîtrisez toutes les conditions. Louez le Rogue S 2026 à partir de 0,4% jusqu'à 36 mois, incluant une réduction fidélité de 0,5% pour les clients Nissan admissibles. Jusqu'au 2 mars, sur approbation de crédit, les conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
As we start off this hour, let's talk about 5G. Has the 5G era really arrived now that Apple is in the game? Joining me on the line is Rene, Ritchie, tech analyst. Hi, Rene.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. So listen, there have been 5G phones out there. 5G has been around either in testing or with real networks for a while, but it seems like when 5G comes up, it's about COVID conspiracy theories and not actually what 5G does.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, from your position covering this industry, has 5G really arrived now that, you know, the biggest player is dipping their toe in the waters?
It's arrive-ish, I think. It's still cart before horse, horse before cart, going back and forth, in that the networks aren't very mature yet, but Apple is such a massive player, especially in North America, that by them adopting it, it really pushes the networks to expand further and faster.
So when it does get pushed, what does it mean? Why is someone who's, you know, got an iPhone and maybe kind of sort of wants to upgrade, what's up with 5G that would lead you to say, yeah, worthwhile?
So it's really complicated. It's like if you remember back when we still had CDMA networks on Bell and Telus and GSM networks on Rogers, it's just such a hodgepodge. LTE, I think, spoiled us in that it was uniform. You know, it didn't really matter what phone you got. It would work on your network. And now, just because 5G is so many things, there's low band, which is very similar to LTE, similar speeds, but it has greater capacity. So the hope is more people will get better quality service, especially in outlying regions. And then you have the mid-band, which I think is really the sweet spot, which is quite a bit faster than LTE and has pretty good range. And that's what we're starting to see get deployed. And then, especially in the U.S., not so much in Canada, you have the high bands, which are outlandishly, ridiculously fast. But if you hold up a rain jacket, you can block the signal.
You're not so good if it can get blocked that easily. So,
yeah.
Rene, why do I need it? What's the real world functionality of having that speed? Because I'll just say that, you know, I'm quite happy with how fast my cell network speed is if I have to surf and I'm not near Wi-Fi. I'm pretty happy with it. So where do you see this actually mattering?
So I think, you know, and Apple's doing something really smart here. I think they're pretty much alone in doing this. Is they're using something called smart data. And what that means is they're managing the LTE to 5G connection for battery efficiency. So there's this concept called race to sleep, where if you can get something done really fast, you can shut down and ends up saving you more power. So if you're doing something like just streaming music with your headphones, your phone is off, it's in your pocket, it'll be the same. They won't even bother putting you on 5G. But if you are trying to play a video game outside or stream a movie or, you know, watch that YouTube video someone sent you, they'll boost you up to 5G so you can get that signal and get it done as quickly as possible. And that is a little bit of the benefit. I think largely for most people, though, it really is that LTE never delivered, especially if you were in the suburbs or in rural areas. Like, people would talk about how great it was, but you never got it. Mm-hmm. And because this new modem is twice as fast on LTE and also does 5G, I think more people will just get better signal and better service in more places.
We're speaking with Rene Ritchie, tech analyst. You can check out his eponymous YouTube channel, Rene Ritchie. So, Rene, who needed 5G more, a 5G iPhone more right now? Did Apple need it more to push upgrades, or was it actually the cell phone carriers? Was it the Bells and Rogers and Teluses of the world that needed this to sort of push people to upgrade and get new plans?
I think it's sort of like a wave that's pushing all of them, because the new modems just support 5G, because that's, if you're going to expand your network now, it just makes sense to expand it with 5G. It has so much more capacity, and that means the modem people like the Qualcomms and even Apple's internal modem people, they want to have the latest modem technology, and that's what the carriers want to sell. So it's like a tidal wave that's just sweeping us all up at this point.
Rene, what's your take on the slate of iPhones that Apple did announce yesterday? I know we mentioned they've got 5G, but they didn't just announce one phone. They announced a ton of them yesterday. What's your take?
So they're really sort of spreading it out wider than they have ever before. You have on the lowest end the new iPhone 12 mini, which is smaller than any flagship iPhone has been in a very long time, smaller even than the SE2, but it's a fully modern full-screen OLED iPhone. And then on the high end, you have the Max, which is 6.7 inches, bigger than any iPhone has ever been, with a better camera system than any iPhone has ever had. So I think it's such a mature market now. It's like the auto industry. They're trying to make phones for specific customers instead of that one-size-fits-all anymore.
Rene, in the past, you'd get to go to California, you'd get to go and see these events happen live. Now Apple is sort of going with this very polished video approach since, we've all got these restrictions due to COVID. As someone who covers Apple, who covers the industry, do you like the fact that we're sort of getting these snazzy videos now of an hour or so as opposed to a sort of 2.5 hour long affair?
Yeah, I think there is some benefits, obviously some drawbacks, like you don't get to see everybody, talk to everybody, have the conversations you'd normally have, get hands-on with the products immediately. But also on the other side, it's much more efficient in terms of time. We're not all wasting jet fuel going across the country or across continents. And it's not this mega monolithic event where you don't really have time to focus on everything. So it's pluses and minuses.
What else did we see from Apple yesterday? I know there's a focus on the company in the audio space. They announced something called HomePod Mini. What's your take?
Yeah, so the original HomePod was fascinating in that Apple was working on it for a long time, and they wanted to make the speaker you could just drop anywhere and have great sound no matter where you put it or where you were standing. But while they were making this, we saw all the Alexa and Google Now and these really affordable home assistant speakers come out, and it just changed everything. And I think Apple had to step back and reassess and say, okay, this is more of people want many speakers in every room, and they can't afford to put $500 speakers everywhere. So they're making one that's much smaller, much rounder, and it's $100 US, I think it's 120, 130 Canadian. And it's much more affordable for people to put like in the kids' room, in the library, all the different places in the house.
It was kind of ridiculous, right, Rene, that if you looked at the market, you could get like a $20 Alexa speaker, and if you wanted to get an Apple speaker, it's like spend $450, right? That they were sort of forced on this issue.
Yeah, well, again, they brought a speaker to an assistant fight. They wanted something that was a high-end speaker and audiophiles will pay that. They'll pay more than that. They'll pay ridiculous sums of money, but it's just not a mainstream product.
Rene, we're October now. The new iPhones have been released as of yesterday. If you have a crystal ball, what does the rest of the year hold in store for Apple and people that are Apple fans?
So my guess is that we'll get one more event, which will be the new Apple Silicon Max, which is Apple moving away from Intel and towards their own custom processors like they use in the iPhone and the iPad. And so we'll get our first version of that, expected to be a laptop, a new generation MacBook, and maybe over-the-ear AirPods Studio, sort of the big can headphones that they haven't released yet.
Rene, I got to ask you, are you the type of individual that upgrades their phone every year no matter what?
Yeah, so I mean, most people don't. We're increasingly seeing annual upgrade programs where your carrier just asks you which phone you want, and you keep paying them in perpetuity. But I think like me, like everyone in the tech industry, you sort of have to just to be able to work in the industry.
All right, Rene, we're going to leave it there. Thanks so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Rene Ritchie is a tech analyst, and you can follow his YouTube channel, which is also Rene Ritchie.